There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm so excited that you are here because we've got a great episode for you and a great man. He is an author. He is a cutlery salesperson by trade. He also is out here to help start a brand new church in a brand new location. And so he's done a lot, and he is living the life that a lot of us would like to live. And thank God, I can only tell you this, thank God he moved out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Because that's where the Green Bay Packers are, and they've been the bane of my poor Seattle Seahawks. Although I'll bet you, and I'll ask him here in a second, I'll bet you he's got a bumper sticker that says Green Bay, and people look at him kind of askance from that. And Rochelle's going to join us in a minute, but I want to introduce Jason Heinritz. And he is an author. Yeah, he's a great guy, and we've been trying to get together on this podcast for a little while now, so it's great to have you here, Jason.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's no bumper sticker, but there's a lot of apparel and a lot of pride.
There is that. And I love the Green Bay Packers. I love them more when Vince Lombardi goes way back. You weren't even around then, but Vince Lombardi, and there's a book that I highly recommend. It's called Instant Replay. And Jerry Kramer wrote the book way back when, about the 1967 or 68 season. And it's a day-by-day diary of what it was like to play for Vince Lombardi, and they won a championship and all of those things. So get that book if you think about it. And but I am so glad that you are here because we got lots to talk about today, including your book, which is, how long has your book been out now?
Been out for about 4 months.
Oh, very good. And it is making a bit of a splash. And when I say a bit of a splash, I kind of mean a bit of a splash because there's marketing and all that kind of stuff that has to go by. But it's the name of the book is called Wake Up, Jesus People. Life-giving disciplines to awaken the warrior within. And I think that's a tremendous calling. How did you come about this book?
Sure, I didn't come about it. More of God has worked on me over many years, and I have just been an open vessel to receive and learn and try to do things my own way, and then listen and recalibrate. But really, it's been about 13 years of practicing some disciplines, Kevin. And back in I don't know how quickly you want to dive into this here, but I was in a tough spot back in the fall of 2012. So I made some switches. I just made some new decisions and went to some things, read some books, and really just started taking ownership of my personal life. And I just started doing some morning routines, was diving back more into my faith. And then over about a decade of practicing some of these disciplines, I just realized a lot of people don't do these, and a lot of people do that maybe without God as a part of it. So want to start, promoting this and talking about it. And I saw so much fruit in my life, Kevin, from practicing these. And I just saw, and the more I dove into my Jesus journey and got deeper there, the more I realized how important these disciplines were that I just was kind of doing, and that all of a sudden were, hey, these are actually really fruitful. They've helped me through tough seasons. And now I'm teaching some discipleship groups about it. And after about a year or two of running some discipleship groups back in 2022, 2023, about 10 to 15 guys going through this, about an 8-week discipleship program, I realized, this is really great to I want to get this out more than just within our church. I feel like there's so many people I connect with that I think, man, if you just did a couple things different, you wouldn't be struggling as much, or you would have more hope and more joy. And so I was kind of nagging in my mind about if I should do this or not, a little insecure about it, and then made the commitment to do some research and really dive in and go through the Bible. And in 2024, I started writing it, and I had a spiritual mentor challenge me to write it, and that was really helpful. And then I thought I have to. At this point, God's brought me up to this point of a decade of practicing this, a couple years of leading men through this. I want to make it bigger, and I want to see what God does with it.
Well, and you said that very well. You see what God does with it. Because, first of all, I want to thank God that Rochelle is here. Rochelle, how are you?
I'm doing so good. And thank you, Jason. I know we went through trials and tribulations to be here both on the show
Yeah.
with you, but things work
Yeah.
out. And as you just
Yeah.
said, I put today in God's hands, and
Yep.
I'm continuing to do it because I don't have control of some things.
Right. Nice try, devil. Right. Not
Oh,
today.
be still, my foolish heart. Are you willing to sit here in front of God and everybody and say that you're not a control freak anymore? When did that change?
I don't know, but it's gone. Because it's so stressful. And I realized I had to see other people living that way. Like you just said, Jason, I saw so many areas where I'm like, if you just did that a little differently, it really wouldn't be so complicated and so difficult for you. And I thought, what about me? What am I doing that is having that same effect that might be affecting my relationships and even my relationship with myself? So congratulations, Kevin. I do listen, even though it takes a while.
well, and by the way, and just so everybody knows why there is this thing in my forehead, Rochelle, what the hell is that that's on my forehead? And can you explain it to anybody?
So we are able to now add a QR code, which is what that is. So if we have a guest on the show and you see that pop up, feel free to scan that with your phone and it will take you directly to, I'm guessing, Jason, the best ways and contact of area to find everything you're talking about, right?
Super.
I don't know. That's technology. I'm not the technology person, so I don't get it. But I'm glad you do, because that's really helpful. And it's great that she is here. She's been traveling all over Utah, performing tasks, and then she made it here. And Jason, I just have to tell you, she was really upset that she might not be here for the show. So
Yeah,
so
I was
that's
going
that's
maybe a little too fast on the freeway, but I was safe, I promise.
Made it.
God
so that's
opened
a
the way up for me, shall I say.
Boom.
and that's a testament to you, young man, and all the things you're doing, because it takes quite a lot of intestinal fortitude and faith, if you will, and trust to move across the country to a place you've never been, to a city you've never been, to a football team that, well, we'll see, leave the football team. But what was it like when you and your wife sat down? I assume you prayed over it and you decided that this is what you were going to do.
Yeah, it was an interesting time, Kevin. Yeah, so
It
what's cool
always
is
did.
God put on our pastor's heart just maybe 4 years ago that, hey, in the next 10 years, we believe we should be in churches in 5 cities. And so they have already won Life Church Green Bay. And then there were cities of Vancouver, Detroit, Seattle, Portland, and LA that they feel like they need to move into, and that God's calling them to bring our life-giving message of Jesus, the way we do church, to those cities. Where a lot of cities are, people run out of those cities. There's some rough cities. There are very unreached cities to be able to go in and bring our church culture to that area. So about 3 or 4 years ago, they said, "Hey guys, we have this opportunity or this calling. What do you think?" And there was about 5 to 10 couples that were open to it, or that was brought to as some of the leaders in the church. And my wife and I were pretty involved in the church, and we were open to it, and it was fun to think about and exciting to think about. And that was about a year or two. And then there was crickets, and they were out here in Seattle trying to figure out where to go and knocking on doors and figuring out churches to maybe help or take over, places to be in. And it was all of a sudden like a year went by and there wasn't a lot of chatter about it. So my wife and I were thinking, okay, great. Maybe we're just meant to stay here in Green Bay. And I was thinking, great, God knows we were serious. It's an Abraham moment. Like, will you really do it? And then I'll bring a ram, your way to not have you kill your son. But it was thinking of like, okay, cool. God knows we're serious. We were going to do it. And then I got settled into, okay, we're just meant to be here. Life is very good here. We're very blessed in Green Bay. And then in April of this year of 2025, they mentioned, hey, by the way, we got a call back. And there's a potential for a space for this church. And are you guys in? And then my wife and I were like, oh boy, this is real. Like, this is real decision time. So we prayed about it. We fasted about it. We flew back out here to kind of get like feet on the ground and get a feel for it, pray and just think about it. And when we were here, we really got the final, like, yep, we've been prepared this whole way. And really what was really cool, Kevin, is seeing where we were at 2 years prior and then what God did in those 2 years, which we can get into as well. But just the sanctification that was happening and the elevation that we had at Life Church Green Bay to prepare us for coming out here. So we said, yep, we're going to do it. And I'd say about every day since then, May and June, and until we moved at the end of July, it was every day almost going, this is really happening. Okay. But having so much faith, some fear, and I'd say it's 90% fearful, 10% faith, like back in like April. And then every day, every week, it just continued to go where by the time we ended up moving out here, it was like 99%. All right, God, let's see what you got. You wouldn't call us out here for nothing. Let's see what you're going to do. Let's have that biblical faith, see what happens. And I had to keep reminding myself, man, there's so many stories in the Bible of this deep faith, life or death situations of people doing miraculous things. And here how can we not just move a handful of states over to help build this kingdom? Who am I to like, say he can't do things and make miracles happen. So yes, we love it. Been out here for about 2 months, figuring things out. It's great, but that's where we're at so far.
Well, and you ended up moving into where the church is going to be, or is it open yet?
It started 4 weeks ago. Yep. So it's open. It's doing great. We're excited. There's a lot of, it's a startup. So it's figuring things out. We have an awesome volunteer team already. It really is cool to see already some of the growth and some of the fruit that's coming from people that have only been there for 2 or 3 weeks. So really, really exciting to see. It is a transition going from a church of a couple thousand people to then, coming to a church of like 100 people. So which just, the humble beginnings again, and trusting our pastors, trusting God, and just going, all right, we're here for a reason. Let's see what happens.
So you're telling me that in 2 months' time, or in 4 weeks' time, you have 100 people that attend services on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get, it's like the same thing with being a brand new author. Do you get how big that is?
So yes and no, because we have such high expectations and because we know the caliber of what we have to offer. It's, obviously we want to go faster and we'd love to reach more, but yeah, it is significant. Also hearing from other pastors and big name people that you hear in podcasts, they started with like 19 people in their first service, right? And it is important to remember that, but it is, that's that flesh that we want more and we want to see bigger numbers, but really those 100 people are all that matters, even if it was just those 100, that's enough. But obviously we believe in more.
That's where
well, you know
started.
how that works, don't you? And Rochelle, just I wanted to make this point, and then I'm turning it over to you. 100 people, each one goes out and talks to 2 people,
Mm-hmm.
and now that becomes 600 people. and they go out and talk to 2 people, and that becomes 1,800 people. And then you have to get a new building because you probably don't have enough space for 1,800 people. But that's how it's going to work. And so, as some would say, patience, my son, patience. It's going to be just fine. Rochelle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to let us take this break, but when we come back, I kind of want to touch on the community and what you are creating with so many different people to come together and understand that they're loved and they're accepted in who they are, and they also have people around them that see that rather than just the unknown. So I'll let Kevin take us to break, and we'll be right back.
We'll be back in 1 minute and 14 seconds, and this is my declaration. Jason, I'd love your opinion on it. And then we have our wonderful Samuel, who has entered the conversation, and we'll bring him into it when we come back. We'll be right back. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle and Jason Heinritz, and we'll be right back. For way too long, we've allowed shadows to dictate our steps. Our clamor of division, the whisper of fear, and the harsh grip of hate. They've tried to define us. But this moment, this is our moment of truth. We remember who we truly are. Not just separate islands, but a vast ocean of shared humanity. We declare our independence from the narratives that have pulled us apart. We choose curiosity over judgment, empathy over indifference, understanding over accusation. This isn't about ignoring our differences. It's about celebrating the strength woven into our tapestry. It's about remembering that progress isn't built on exclusion, but on common ground. So let the banners of kindness fly high. Let the anthem of unity ring out. This is our declaration, our independence from what limits us, our freedom to truly connect. Because together we are stronger. And together we are free. And this declaration is brought to you by Positive Talk Radio. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Rochelle. She's right there. Her hair's nice and fluffy today, and she looks really good. And Jason is with us. Jason Heinritz, and he's the author of a book. He has traveled all the way across the country to start a church without anyone telling him any. Oh, and the job that he has become a remote job, so he can do it from anywhere, which makes it possible for him to do all of this. It's amazing, Rochelle, how sometimes everything seems to line up perfectly so that things can proceed how they're supposed to. Don't you think?
Right, exactly that. And, you kind of have to create that space for that to be available too. If you're blocked off and you're not open to things, then some of these things, Jason, probably wouldn't have come to you, or maybe they would have, and you wouldn't have been prepared to take them on as you and your wife were open to kind of just going with the flow, right? That's literally what it's about. How you said that there was that time period, and I want to talk about those 2 years of transitioning and what exactly that held up for you. Real quick, I just want to shout out Samuel before we get to my question. We love him. You are being listened to in the slums of Kyberia. He says, greetings, Brother Kevin and Sister Rochelle and guest Brother Jason. Receive greetings from Kyberia slums in Nairobi, Kenya. We are watching our favorite program with the show here in center of Kyberia, Restoring Hope Center with my team. Kyberia is tuned in, and he also says, together we are strong. And that is true. I bet, it's one of those things line up. You probably wouldn't think that there's a whole little village hearing what you're talking about in Kenya and how that could impact them as well. So we love him. He feeds 350 kids every week and just started an education program for them. So we're very thankful to have him here, especially with what he's doing. He's creating a movement like you and trusting universe is going to do what I allow it to bring in for me. And I want to go back to my question because I hated church. And then if somebody told me they went to church, I was like, whatever, like it was almost like I saw them differently. And that's so crazy to say, because you'd think that we'd be more loving to those kind of people, but church has been persecuted in so many ways. And when I found my church, my Christian denominational church, I felt like, I remember it said on the banner, "Welcome home," and I was like, "Is this some sort of cult? Like what what is going on here?" And I walked in, and I remember I couldn't really breathe or hold my tears in, just hearing the music and seeing the people. And it was because there was so many different kinds of people, all different ages, that were all together. And we were in one huge room, and we just got a new building for our church as well. We still don't even fit in that. So I have high hopes that yours is going to become overflowed in the same way. But is that the same kind of community, and your focus is you can come in, and no matter where you're at, God loves you and meets you where you're at. We're here to do the same. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, God is so good. And
That is good.
unfortunately, he's got, a bunch of humans who try to do their best, who are not perfect,
Mhm.
who are, in life and who are in churches. And so, one thing I'd say is, yes, so to answer a few questions here, yes, the church is all about the life-giving message of Jesus. When he came, he was meeting with poor people and outcasts and women and beggars and tax collectors. And it's love, it's everyone is welcome, church, God loves everyone. And he just so obviously there's guidance. And if you think of the Bible as like a self-help book, if some people look at it with the rules and the regulations, and unfortunately some churches do error on that side a little bit too much, of like, you got to do this or you're going to hell. And I don't think it's
Don't
the
be
best
human.
approach. And so
Yeah.
I think it's like, hey, here's the guidelines, do your best, because here's how I made you, here's how I designed things to be. And the closer you follow these, the less mistakes you're going to make and the happier you will be. We read these self-help books and we think of, wow, what can I get from that? And taking notes. And you don't look at it as like, look at all these things I have to do, or look at these guardrails, I can't have any fun. It's no, if you want to do really well in this area and you're reading this self-help book, I'm going to take notes. I'm going to try to emulate that. And
Right.
so if you think about the Bible that way too, and a Bible believing church and a Bible believing pastor who is preaching from the word, there's so many nuggets, so many great things in there that you have to, maybe live some life to fully understand them or fully
Mhm.
make that switch. And so, yes, we're all about the life-giving message of Jesus. We're all about loving people where they're at and knowing that they're all in different stages of their Jesus journey. And there's people that they're curious, or they don't understand, or they were hurt by someone who claimed to be a Christian or even was a Christian, or
Yep.
someone or a church. And unfortunately, God has to work with what he has, which is a bunch of imperfect people. And unfortunately, sometimes we ruin it as people. And I think it's just, if you can just come to a nice community and find a church that you love, that's Bible believing, and that you're loved, and you have other people there that love you, and they're on their walk as well. We're all just doing our best and at
Yep.
different parts of our journey, our Jesus journey.
Right. Well, and
Mhm.
I want to ask you based off that too. Would you say it's fair that when you're more in tune with yourself, the voice of God is almost like an intuition voice? You know how spiritual people say the same thing.
Mhm.
I got in touch with my spirit, and intuition came through the universe and told me that for some reason this was something I had to do. I have that happen all the time. And I'm like, I can't explain it. I just know that I have to do this thing. Or I end up in situations where it's like, why am I in this situation? But would you say that that's fair to say that when your intuition is closely related to the spirit?
Yeah. So let me also, like, disclaimer: I'm not a pastor.
Right.
Please don't take anything. I'm not perfect. Could not quote every verse of the Bible. I'm not leading a church.
Of
So
course.
let me just say that from my perspective and my answers, yeah, the Holy Spirit. There's so many times in my life where I thought, oh, that's a coincidence, or oh yeah, I just got that, or I just thought of that,
Yeah.
and oh, look at that creativity I have, or look at that idea for that book, or that person that just came in my life.
Mhm.
I'm I believe fully it's the Holy Spirit. And so, yes, it is spiritual. And yes, the closer you are to God, the more you're going to get that, and the more you're going to see visions and have the Holy Spirit speak to you. And God uses all kinds of people in different situations, but the closer you're following him, the more you're in the Bible, the more you're praying, the more you're in tune with him, the better relationship you'll have, and the more you'll hear from him. Just like if I showed up to talk to my wife for 1 hour a week and said, all right, see you next Sunday, that's not going to be a good relationship, right? So it's not just the Sunday Christian thing. It is a Jesus journey daily walk thing. And how can I be less like me and more like him?
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, do you have any questions?
Well, I wanted to ask you because see, Jason, I grew up Lutheran, and Missouri Synod, which is very conservative, and I didn't feel like that met all of my needs because I was more in tune with what Jesus said and the philosophy of the Sermon on the Mount and Matthew 25 and those things. And I'm a little concerned because there are segments of Christianity that are much more, and I'm not even sure that that's even the right word to use. Maybe you can help me here. But there are segments of the people who believe in the Old Testament as far as how to treat women, how to treat others, rather than what Jesus taught in the New Testament, which you've already mentioned already, because he worked with beggars and with tax collectors and prostitutes and people that he met them where they were, and he wanted them to live their best life and to take care of each other and to be kind to each other and stuff. But I see in some cases that's not being taught with the relevance that I think it should be. And do you agree with any of that? What do you think?
Sure. Well, let me also disclaimer: I didn't go to seminary school, so if you want, other people's
Well,
perspectives like
neither did
pastors,
I. I
that's
just went to
great.
church. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
My 2 cents, right, is so greatest commandments: love God and love others, right? So love your neighbor as yourself, right? And so when Jesus came down, died on the cross, that wiped away a lot of those rules and regulations. It doesn't mean that a lot of them are, obviously they're still biblical. You still want to follow them. You don't want to sin, but there were those 613 or so laws that were for the Israelites in the moment, in the desert at that time,
Correct.
before Jesus had come back. So I'm not qualified. I don't feel I'm qualified to give like a lot of details and a great answer. But if we can just love God and love people, keep it simple, and that's it. And if we, as all denominations, all Jesus people, yes, there's ones that really err on the side of the rules and regulations, and you can't do this, or you can't, you fill in the blank, and then some that are a little more loose. It's like, well, okay, what can we agree upon? How about whether it's politically, denominationally, anything? What if we spoke to like the 95% that we can agree upon as people, as Jesus people? The devil wants to separate us. He wants us to go that denomination or this denomination. Here's why we were better. How about just love Jesus and do our best? And if that's getting you closer to Christ, great. And some people like the old traditional ways. Some people like a new, mega church way. Some people like in between. Wherever you sit, I just say, if we can just as if you are a Jesus person, like let's just love each other and work together, because that power and that mission together of just focusing on the big things that really matter, that we don't have to argue about all this stuff with. There's so many, again, rules, regulations, what people believe about different things. I just feel like we spend too much time worrying about it, talking about it. Too many churches spend a lot of time with that division, and instead of just loving on each other and reaching the lost, and working together as like an army, if you will, of Jesus people. Mm-hmm.
I agree with that 100%. because that is, and labels are labels, and when we come back from this break, it's our halftime break, and I would like to kind of discuss that a little bit because I use a different terminology than you do, but it ultimately is the exact same thing. And I want to mention that when we come back, if we can. We're talking with Jason Heinritz, and go to his website, which is wakeupjesuspeople.com. Well, I'm sorry, Michelle. What did you say?
Nothing. You've got this all under control.
And we're having a really, really good discussion because at the end of the day, I think that we all need to take care of each other and be kind to one another, and treat each other as we would want to be treated, which, by the way, is in almost every religious text on the planet. But I like the way Jesus presented it and said it, especially on the Sermon on the Mount. If you haven't read the Sermon on the Mount in its entirety, I highly encourage you to do that. I don't know if I have, but we'll be right back after this. I'm getting myself in trouble.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. Welcome back to Positive Talk. Rochelle, bring us back to the show.
Thanks for being here, everybody. We're with Kevin McDonald, of course, and myself. And we have Jason Heinritz here with us. Go visit his website. It is wakeupjesuspeople.com. And if you say, I'm not really a Jesus person, but I'd like to see what all that is about, go take a look. And Kevin, we'll continue with your question, but I want to make sure that we continue talking about Jason's 2 years and the transition that happened. You said a word specifically earlier that I just said to myself as I walked through the door by myself without my 16-year-old in the first time for a year. And so I want to touch on that. So let's get to your point, Kevin, and then we'll come back to those 2 years for him.
No, let's go to this.
Okay.
And because the last 2 years, I love your question, Rochelle, because the last 2 years have been really consequential to everything that you are doing and what you are doing now. And there had to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there had to be a series of events, of synchronicities, of how things lined up that told you that your faith and your belief was being well-founded in what you were being asked to do, because it all just kind of lined up like magic, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really started 5 years ago. Cut me off if this story goes too long here, but 5 years ago, before COVID and before kids, I was in my 20s. I was 1 foot in the world, 1 foot out. A lot of partying, a lot of fun, pursuing all the pleasures, and it was a lot of fun. And then in the 30s, I got married, started getting more serious with my faith, and also still working a ton. And in my 30s, I'd say, Kevin, my idol was work, my own platform, wealth, status, feeling like I'm enough. It filled my cup of worth and identity. Was my job, my work, my title, all of it. So I'd work 12 hours a day, probably 5 or 6 days a week. And it was just a lot. And I loved it until I got married and then and had kids. So I was working really hard. I got this promotion. So it went from a district manager, it's called, which is a territory manager, up to like a state manager called a division manager in 2019. And I was excited. I was pumped. But then 2020 hit, COVID hit, 2020 in January, first son was born, and things changed. So God started working on my heart and thinking, man, I am really stressed. I am not happy. I'm not at peace. I feel very blessed. I'm doing well. Like life looks good on the outside, marriage and life, everything was good. But I put work on a pedestal. And so my happiness at home, my self-worth, all of that would ride on the sales week each week. And once we had our first child, January of 2020, and then COVID hit, and we went all virtual, like, wow, I'm missing out on a lot by being gone for 12 hours a day. What do you know? And so that was when God started working on my heart. And also, what also helped was 5 years ago when our son was born, I love him so much, right? And just being a father, it's so amazing. And then to think, wow, God loves me that much. Like I would do anything for this kid. It doesn't matter how much he messes up. I'll punish him and I'll correct him because I don't want him to mess up more. But I love him so much. It doesn't matter what he does. So he started working on my cold heart. And I just started, being more relational, I guess you could say, and working on a little bit more empathy. I'm still struggling with that now, but that was the start of it. And then the big next jump was in 2022 when our second son was born. And then seeing our 2-year-old now looking like a giant compared to this little baby that just came home, going, 2 years went that fast. And I was home with him a lot and virtual. I still was struggling with work as a pedestal. But God was slowly working his way back up to his spot, number one. And so when that happened, that was another big shift in my mentality, my focus to preparing me for serving God more instead of serving my wants and desires. Then in summer of 2023, I had another big wake-up call where I'd been numbing myself for probably a decade, where at night I would have probably 5 nights a week, I'd have either a weed gummy or I'd have a couple drinks just to like take the edge off and just to like numb it. And I justified I'm present with the family. I can turn off work. So my brain was always in work mode. Who can I talk to? Who can I recruit? Who can I make be more inspired to sell more, let's say. So then next summer, I have a friend from church who was a past addict and went through all the classes and worked with me a little bit. And our marriage counselor also was like, well, my wife, of course, for a long time was like, what are you doing? This is stupid. Why are you doing this? This is not okay. I justified I'm not getting wasted. I'm not getting blazed up. Like I'm still here. Although now when I look at videos, guys, I look back and like, yeah, that wasn't, I was a little out there. I was a little spacey of an answer or an interaction. I'm embarrassed sometimes of some of those. So it wasn't good when I started hiding it from my wife. And then in a marriage counseling session, I was explaining some of the things and justifying, and she's like, yeah, those sound like addictive tendencies. And I just sunk and I could not believe it. And I was thinking, has it gotten that bad? I'm just turning work off. I'm just wanting to be present with the family. And so from that July of 2023, my mentor challenged me and our couples counselor challenged me. And so I threw away all the weed gummies. I stopped drinking at home. I basically been clean except for a drink at like a special occasion or a work event or like a glass of wine on like an anniversary or something. So it's not an issue anymore, but that was a big switch because I was feeling almost that happiness and that peace with substances instead of Jesus. And so that was a big switch for me. And that was a big realization where I'm like, okay. And I started really submitting and surrendering and going, all right, God, use me. I'm finally cleansing of some of these things that are holding me back. Work is not my idol anymore. I am not numbing myself with these substances. I'm here to serve. Use me. And then that was in June of 2023. And then at church in the fall, our young adults program was in some transition time. And I was telling my wife, and like, they just, I feel the need. I don't want to add more to my plate, but Abby, I feel the need that we should do this. We should lead this young adults ministry. And she's like, all right, let's talk to them about it. So we had a conversation with the pastors and they said, yep, sounds like a great fit. So January of 2024, we took over young adults ministry. And so Abby and I working together, we're both recovering workaholics. We're both working really hard, great roommates, great like working together for the house and for our marriage and in work, but we hadn't really worked together on like a project or a job or a thing in the church. We both served a lot and did all that, but not together. So when that happened, that really brought us really close together. The young adults ministry just blew up. So many amazing people, so much fruit from that, just creating that community. And so that was 2 years of working together and ministry together, preparing us in the time when we thought they were crickets, when we thought maybe the Seattle thing wasn't a thing anymore, that God was working on us together to be able to be prepared to come out here and help with ministry as well. Oh, and then another thing, me with the idle thing of work, I'd finally in that summer of 2023 been like, okay, I'm gonna do my best not to worry about the sales report, not put all my self-worth in how much where I rank in the company and how many sales we're doing. And I told my manager, hey, I feel like my position right now, I'm not good enough at it. And there's just a lot of pressure. This is my last year, probably with this position. I don't think with the company, I don't want to leave the company, but I wanted less stress and less worry and all that. So a year went by and he made the decision easy for me and demoted me. So I feel like in that little caveat, that little story, I feel like, God allowed me to be humble enough to take a demotion in this world to be able to get a promotion in his kingdom. And so that was another big switch as well. Where I'm like, all right. And then I started writing the book in 2024, led some discipleship groups. And now we are here now out in Seattle helping with the church. And so it's just, when I look back, God had his hands all over it. And when I just submitted and trusted and surrendered and said, all right, God, use me. Here I am. Like, I'm going to surrender my desire to be awesome and to be liked and to be number one and just go, all right, here I am. So that's where we're at now.
You do realize that you failed miserably at those last two things, right?
Which ones? The surrender?
No, that you're not liked and you're less than,
Oh,
and you don't
got
have
it.
all of those things. You failed miserably at those things, by the way. And by the way, I have to tell you, those damn children, I'm telling you, they enter your life, and all of a sudden, your heart that was all about work no longer cares nearly as much about that, because now you got little ones who look at you with those adoring eyes. Wait till they turn 9 and 10 and they won't let you hold their hand anymore. And that's a whole different thing. But Rochelle, that's a wonderful story, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. And thank you, Jason, for being vulnerable and open enough to, like, there's so many people, especially, anywhere from 18 to 35, I would say that it's normal. You go home, have a gummy, have a joint, have something, drink some beers, have a few shots, and that you mentioning that you realized that you could choose you over that. And there was more that was ready to be given to you when that space was let up, is absolutely massive, because we don't really think, we're not doing anybody harm, and there's no, it's no big deal. But time adds up. It's like spending $5 every day and then looking back in 6 months and being like, damn, I could have saved a lot of money on that thing. So thank you for being open about that. And wasn't it just so damn worth it to choose yourself more than a substance?
Yeah, but it was hard. In the moment, it was justifying, and it was. But when I just replaced that with Jesus and my self-worth and other things, it's like it opened up this whole new level of peace and joy. And in the moment, I thought my peace and joy I was a little numb. Well, this makes things a little more exciting, a little more chill.
Right.
But I mean, it definitely wasn't healthy. And like you said with the timing thing, I justified as it's just for now, but it turned into over a decade.
Yeah.
Well, but
That's
also think
powerful.
about, you're doing well with your position now, but also your better half is also and now an associate pastor at this new church. That is a lot of growth on her part as well. And the fact that you guys are doing it together is a big deal. It really is.
It
So
is. Congratulations.
congratulates.
Yeah, thank you.
Rochelle, go ahead.
Yeah, just no congratulations. I mean, there's a portion of us in the world that are given these little tools and tasks and things that we learn through. We have to learn through them. We're human too. If you and your wife wouldn't have been who you were the rest of that time, you wouldn't be able to become who you are now and serve in the purpose that you're meant to. And everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's meant to serve and help in some way, by something that they learn or they carry within. And some of us just don't see it. And it takes time also. I love how you mentioned that, there was a right time for things. And to be able to let go and surrender, not be like, oh, you know what? Actually, God, I think I'm gonna take control because this next week that could really be ready. I could be ready for that. Which is hard to do, but we're all human. We're all here. We're not perfect, but we can lean on each other to learn these lessons rather than have it separate us. So let's take our last break, and then I want to dive into anything new that is going on at the church, anything upcoming. I'm coming to Seattle to help Kevin here in the next month or two. I would love nothing more than to come and visit the church and meet all of you guys. And I have to say thank you so, 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 so much for being somebody that stepped in for those adolescents. If there's really one group of people that need us the most right now, it is kids trying to find their identity in the world. And there's no better way to do that than to work with you. So let's take this break and we'll be right back.
And the church, by the way, is located at,
Yes.
it's a great school in Kirkland. What's the name of it again?
Northwest University.
Perfect.
Northwest University. I grew up right near there. So yes, Rochelle and I will go over there on a Sunday morning, and we look forward to meeting you, Jason.
Yes.
Maybe if
Exciting.
she's still here.
Yes.
We don't know. So anyway, we'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression. The one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report. The extra minute you took on your lunch break. The packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing. To return the wallet. To fix the mistake. To respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is right there. And Jason, you know, that particular thing that I just did about integrity, because at the end of the day, it comes down, I think, it comes down to us. It's not a matter of having to be worried about what the divine's going to do or what God's going to do. And by the way, I wanted to get this out. I know that a lot of us use the term God, and I think that God is too restrictive of what God actually is, because God is the source and the creator of everything. And sometimes people think in terms of God as sitting on. I had a friend recently, and I said, "What do you think God is?" And he said, "Some guy sitting on a throne with a long beard and talking about." And I said, "No, he's more than that. He's creator of the universe." Do you have it? I asked him, "Do you have any idea how big the universe is?" And he said, "No." And I said, "It's pretty big. It's bigger than we can physically imagine. And God is not segmented. He is in charge of all of it, and he is everywhere." At least that's my humble opinion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, God's everywhere. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere at once. And yeah, he created everything. It's crazy. And there's so much that we are confused. There's a lot that we in our flesh and in our small brains get confused about or don't understand, which is why it's hard for people to like even be open to the whole Jesus thing. And I get it, right? So it's a lot, but it takes just as much faith, if not more, to think this just accidentally happened. there's too many. You just think about the eyeball, right? It's crazy that when you really understand and learn, even when I was seeing the process of our sons being born, and just the way my wife's body just adapted to having a child and being ready, and the way everything works. I was even more impressed with God, and which is hard, but like there's just so many things. And even being out here in Seattle, right? Being out here with all the nature, there's so much beauty in creation. Like he didn't have to have the colors change in the trees. How sweet is that right now? How beautiful is that? There's so much when you look at the big picture of things that this was designed. This just didn't happen by accident. And again, I'm not here to debate anything or talk any, we're just here to spread positive vibes, right? And life-giving message of Jesus. But yeah, I'm all with you, Kev. God is good. He created everything, and there's so much we don't understand.
Yeah.
And, it's okay that we don't understand that, because our job, I think, and Rochelle, I'd love your opinion. I think our job is to take care of each other every day, to be kind to people that we get to meet, to live our lives to the best degree that we can, and not hurt anybody, and care for people. And I think that really resonates with more and more people these days than it has, because there's so much negativity, hate, and division and fear out there. Michelle, what do you think?
It reminds me of a song. I I listen to it apparently a lot, or it comes on my playlist. One of those things that's like, you get in your car and there's a song playing. And he says, God is good all the time. If he ain't, then you lying. And I hear, it's crazy how I hear people in my house, my mom, my cousin, a friend that I see once a month, and they're saying that song comes on, and all of a sudden they just know the lyrics, and it sticks with them because God is with you all the time. And if he ain't, then you lying. It reminds me of that, and how we've talked about this being learning. We're here learning. We're here to teach. We're here to learn. We're here to take those lessons, and God leaves it up to us. That's what free will is. So you can decide how you're going to take on your life also. It's not like, get with God and it's a great life. That's when you're tested the most. Anybody who starts going to church will realize that because he wants you to see yourself. So he breaks down all these walls. And I thought to myself, how beautiful that you guys are in a building and a space of learning. You're in a school teaching about the universe, God, everything that exists. And I love how both of you understand that, sometimes we don't have to understand everything. I'm one of those people, and I'm like, well, if I don't understand it, then, like it doesn't, I get to make that difficult, but I also can let that go and just think, well, if it doesn't make sense right now, there's maybe lessons I need to learn that will help me get to that point. So it's another way, Jason, as you were saying when we came in the show, is you kind of get to choose where you look and where you handle and why you do that, and just try to create that space. So I'm amazed at how it all worked out for you. And also I'm not, because God is good.
That's very well
Amen.
said, young lady. And
Thanks.
and I gotta tell you, speaking of which, both of you guys are just a little younger than me. You've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Is that right?
Yeah, 5 and 3. Mm-hmm.
5 and 3, and so you are a young daddy. And where do you see yourself in 30 years or 40 years? Do you even contemplate that?
I do and I don't. I'm happy to be right here in the present. I've tried to work. I have literally a whole dreams board and goal board here in my office, and I do have dreams and goals for myself, but I want to live in the moment. I want to trust God. I want to see what he's up to. But yeah, I don't as much. I used to, but actually the closer I've gotten to God, the more I'm like, quickly things can change, and how his plan is so much better and greater than what I have. And so there's the ideal, but I want to love my kids. I want to create disciples. I want to be a ripple for others. I want more people in heaven because of me. And I want God to be able to use me for that, and just enjoy the whole process and the journey.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you and to buy your book and to talk to you about all things that you talk about, how do they do it?
Yeah. How much time do I have? Minute?
You've got
10
5
seconds?
minutes.
Oh,
5
okay,
minutes.
cool. So, a couple of things. So the site is wakeupjesuspeople.com. Okay. It has the book, Wake Up Jesus People, Life-Giving Disciplines to Awaken the Warrior Within. It's all about dreaming, morning routines, evening routines, best practices as Jesus people, and just bringing more joy and hope and life to you, as well as, yes, it's not only waking up in the morning to get your butt up and going and spend your time, like start your day with Jesus, start your day with exercise, start it with prayer and journaling and these really important, great practices, proven practices that can start your day. Like I know from me, from 5 till 7 a.m. is what I call a sacred start. It's sacred, it's holy, it's set apart. It's my time with Jesus and myself, because 7:15 is when the boys wake up. So then I have no chance of peace. And it's go time as a dad. So how can I get that time right and have that peace? So by the time 7 a.m. hits, I'm good to go. I'm my best self. I'm filled up, ready to give to my family, to the church, to others, to the people I lead and all of that. So there's things like that, waking up. There's also the waking up to, just like we talked about, not being a zombie, not being just a Sunday Christian, not just coasting through life, but waking up and participating in the game of life and not thinking, having some dreams, having some goals, having some belief in yourself and waking up as a warrior for your life and for God's kingdom to actually do something about it, because God has a great plan for you. You can do it. There's also a journal on there, and there's also a 40 Forge program. 40 Forge challenge is basically to kind of dumb it down, it's basically a Jesus version of 75 hard. So it's a challenge, a 40-day cleansing, a 40-day challenge that includes fitness, that includes the sacred start, and that includes abstaining from drugs, alcohol, and porn, 3 things that hold a lot of people back and that people are stuck in. And so the goal is after 40 days, they're on a track, 40 days to really like get things rolling. So then it becomes their identity and it really helps them in their future. So that's been cool. I run that about 6 times a year with the 40 Forge challenge. And then, yeah, what else is on there? Yeah, I guess that's all.
Well, and that challenge is great because you've got it throughout the year, and it's a 6-week program, I do believe.
Yeah,
And by the way, has anybody ever said to you, well, Jason, I can do 2 of those 3 things, but I can't do all 3?
That's fine. I'm not hardcore like 75 hard is. They don't have to restart or that. Hey, if you're cleansing 2 of them, heck, 1 of them, great. Let's work on 1 this round, work on another one the next round, 3rd one the other round. That's fine. But if they're not ready for the full challenge, I am okay with them doing partial challenges.
Mm-hmm. And does anybody ever say to you, Jason, that's great, but do you mind if I lie to you?
I've not had anyone say that yet, and they're all Christians, so of course they wouldn't lie to me.
They're not being honest.
Well, they may think they're lying to Jason, but they're also kind of lying to themselves. So really, that's not where he comes into play. But Jason, I wanted to mention, you said be the warrior of your life. And it made me think that you wake up with the power and the intention of what you choose your life to be. Every day you're writing your story. And it also means to remember that warriors make mistakes. When you start getting on any journey of following anything with, I'm going to choose to wake up and be better, whether it's a 10-day plan or a 2-day plan or a 40-day plan or a year, you are your own warrior and you're allowed to make mistakes, but how you learn from them is really where I'd say the growth process comes in, or where you stunt that growth. So I hope you agree with that. And again, thank you so much for spending your time with us. If anybody's still watching here, if you haven't, go on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, also known as Twitter, get the QR code out of the top corner, scan that with your phone, and visit his website, wakeupjesuspeople.com. And congratulations, Jason. I cannot wait to meet you and see the church, and I'm praying for you and your growth every day.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
And I just have one thing to say, because next time that you get into your car and you turn on the radio, I want you to listen to what song is playing, because the divine or God, I don't know how they do it, but they've got a message. When I turn on my radio, KZOK, which is a local radio station here, and it's a rock station, and Don't Stop Believing was a song because I just finished a show. And then the next one was Nothing Else Matters, because trust forever in who you are and nothing else matters. And those were the messages that I was being given that day. So, and look at billboards, look around, you'll see them. I promise you. And Jason Heinritz, thank you so much for being here. Go to his website again, which is Wake Up Jesus People. I love that. Wake up, Jesus people. And it's been great having you here. And you're going to have to come back, and we want to follow along with how the church is doing.
Yeah, Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason.
And Rochelle and I will be back in, about 40 minutes or so, or 50 minutes, something like that. And thank you, Jason. And thank you, Rochelle. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.